Hi guys, so this is gonna be this cam view right here because the one that's right there isn't working right now. Well, it's working. I just have to set it back up, and I'm not in the mood to set that back up right now. But I'm showing you I got until today, so I got it from I got it for free, and so it's Lenovo IdeaPad Y580. Here it is. Has a couple dings. The DVD drive did not work, and so I'm gonna replace the DVD drive with the hard drive's optical drive adapter, so I can basically plug in the hard drive that's in here because it came with the 1 TB hard drive. And I'm gonna take out of the original slots. I installed Windows to make sure everything worked. The only thing that doesn't work on here is one USB port, one USB 3 port, because there's two USB 3s, two USB 2s. Both USB 2s work, one USB 3 doesn't work, and one does. It has HDMI, it has VGA, it also has Ethernet. So this, because I was planning on getting a NUC and Intel next unit of computing computer. And it's basically a little microcomputer that basically has laptop hardware in there, but it's a bare bones system. So you get the motherboard, processor, case, power supply, but you need to provide your own RAM, your own RAM, and your own um, hard drive or SSD, and then some of them you have to provide your own Bluetooth adapter if you want Bluetooth. So that one has a Celeron in there, and it would have cost $248 because the Intel NUC was $131. The RAM was $29.99, which was DDR4. This is DDR3, which is fine. It was DDR4, and it also had with a 500 GB SSD. And what I was going to use that for was connecting to my capture card, which is the one which is over here. My switch is over here, which is connected to the capture card over here, which is not connected to the capture card right now. It's connected to nothing right now. And so the switch would provide video. The switch I have, which connects my iPad, soon my phone, once I get the adapter, and then this laptop I'm going to be using for testing my software, for testing software and doing other stuff. And if I need to install an OS, I can do that with this software. And so after that, but basically, this thing looked like it was dropped because there's a couple dings on there. But I don't know if the hard drive is going to fail anytime soon. But it basically still works for now. So I'm going to replace this with 120 GB SSD. The 1 TB hard drive with 120 GB SSD for the OS and also testing software, because that's enough for testing software. And then for stuff that needs to be done, I'm also going to basically replace eventually the 1 TB with either a 1 TB SSD or another 1 TB hard drive. Maybe 1 TB SSD, I don't know. Just have a flash. And then the optical drive I took out right here. I'm gonna put an optical drive to SATA SSD adapter, and then I'm gonna plug that into here. I may take the 1 TB SSD out of here and put it into here, because the 1 TB SSD does being used, because there's two in here. One would just be taken out and put into this system. If it doesn't work, I can always put it back. Because I have a 2 TB, 1 TB, 1 TB, and a 2 TB, and then soon to be 500 GB, because I put one in, it didn't work, and so if this next one that I ordered doesn't work, if the one that I ordered doesn't work again, then I'm going to put that into a USB enclosure, plug that into via USB, and then I'm gonna and I basically use an SSD as my scratch disk and also storage for OBS. I may just buy a 1 terabyte SSD again, just for this system, because of what it's going to be used for is basically mostly testing stuff, and the 1 terabyte hard drive would be fine, because I think you can get a 1 terabyte hard drive. Let me check, for pretty cheap. I think. Let me test. 1 TB. So 1 terabyte hard drive. You can find them. 1 terabyte. You can do a portable hard drive, or you can do 1 terabyte portable. So 47. And I'm guessing I can take the hard drive out of the enclosure, I'm thinking, because I'm not gonna buy on Amazon. I'm just talking about. Let's see. Okay. Because I'm just sorry about this. I'm trying to find. It's just SSDs, so that one. I type in SSD 255. So just gonna. So that's 47. Seagate Constellation is 40. So let's see. That's just at a later date, because the hard drive I need a hard drive. I need a hard drive, but this one should last for like what I'm doing. So I'm gonna basically hook up the capture card, the one for this device I have plugged in. Okay, so I had to pause, rewind. I had to stop the video, but I hope it. As you can see, you'll see. I'm back where it was at. So now I'm about to turn on the laptop. This is me testing to make sure it works out. You're seeing this with me right now, so I'm sorry about just the blank screen. I'll switch over to cameras. Let's see. This has a hard drive in there, so you might be able to see it on the screen if I. Yep, there you go. So it's going so slow because it doesn't have an SSD. It doesn't have an SSD, and I think the hard drive's a little bit damaged. So it works though. For now, I don't know for how but will be replacing this with a 1 terabyte SSD most likely from this machine, I think. But this is the desktop. I basically have CPU-Z on here. I was trying to figure out what kind of drivers I needed, but the problem is the drivers itself aren't here. The drivers themselves aren't, because when there's only Windows 7 and Windows 8 drivers. Windows 10 automatically installs the latest drivers, so the only drivers I installed were the graphic drivers. And just going over here. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit slow with a hard drive. So I'm gonna be putting a mouse and keyboard. So let me switch. So I'm gonna be using this keyboard right here. It's the spare keyboard I have. It's a cheap keyboard. It's cost me $19, but pretty good keyboard. It has Wi-Fi. I mean, it has a unified dongle, which I have plugged in right here, which is going to be for something else, which is plugged to this computer over here. I had to plug. So my second capture card, which I usually have this that I usually have to switch plug into, is right here. I had to actually take it out because of I was putting an M.2 SSD yesterday, and I couldn't actually get it to recognize M.2. So I ended up because I put in the M.2, I put on this little adapter that came with the motherboard. It's basically a heat shroud. So it basically sucks up the heat, but basically the M.2 got hot, and so it was working, and it also didn't detect my SSDs that I had plugged in. So I had to unplug 2 of them, and then plug them into the other board, plug them onto the other spots, and then I ended up plugging the M.2 in and didn't detect in the BIOS. So I called Gigabyte to see what the issue was. They said either you have a dead M.2 slot or like a dead M.2. So I'm basically going to based on checking to see because I tried 2 different M.2s, because I did the video the other day saying I got 2 of them. I tried both of them. It didn't work. So I ended up basically getting a replacement. It's coming tomorrow. And what ended up happening is, once it gets here tomorrow, I'm going to put it in. If it still doesn't work, then I have a dead M.2 slot, because I had a Western Digital SSD in here, 2 terabyte, that basically died because of overwriting. I mean, because of writing to so much. So I ended up getting a Samsung SSD, and it's basically a 500 gig because of the 1 terabyte I wanted, but basically it was like double the price of the 500 gigabyte M.2, and I only use it for cache and stuff like that, and also just writing too. So if it doesn't work in the M.2 slot, then I'm going to be taking it and getting an M.2 USB adapter, plugging that into 3.1 port on the back, which is 10 gigabit, and it would be fast enough to saturate that. Well, it could be saturate more, but basically it would just be something I wanted to do to get it to work, instead of having to return it. And if it does work, then I can basically focus on, I wouldn't have to get the USB adapter, but I'm 99% sure the other SSD killed my actual M.2 slot. But if it did, I get USB. If it didn't, I basically get I'm going to be getting a 1 terabyte SSD, like a standard SATA one, put that into the put it into a caddy that I'm going to be getting for $6.99, and so I'll be basically replace it with this with the optical drive that I took out. And since I don't use an optical drive on laptops, and this laptop would be for testing, this laptop can hold a charge because I got a Alienware for free, like a R14, and was running Windows 8.1 originally, and so I ended up installing Windows 10 on there, and so that didn't actually so basically that is there. So if you switch back to here, I'll just switch to here actually, because of if you go to here, I'm just gonna get the mouse. So as you can see, it's at 44%, and so it has 2 hours and 31 minutes left, and this was it has a 5-hour charge time, and so since most of the times this will basically be used closed, I'm gonna take this laptop with me actually places once I replace the hard drive with an SSD, because the hard drive, I really don't trust the hard drive, and two, it's been dropped, so basically it's been dropped, so I basically would have to remove the hard drive anyway, because it could fail at any time. I'm not for sure if it will. It couldn't. It shouldn't. But until I get an SSD, so I can take the SSD and put it in there and have a total flash storage laptop. And when it's not in use, I can hook it to my capture card and then control it from right over here, because that's why I have this monitor for here. It's for hooking up these two actual cables. Well, it's 3 now, but that one cable that I have my what you're saying hooked to is from my TV over here, and that I had hooked up to my second capture card, which is the first one that is plugged in right now. That one is the first one is usually for my camera that's right here. For like unboxing stuff. That's why, because the camera's off, because it needs to be angled properly, and I can't angle it properly until that over there gets stood up properly, because right now the actual cable is literally stretching across the video cable is stretching across, and so when I had it plugged up to my TV, it went to a display. It went to the gallery. So when you hook it up to like TV, so if it's not hooked up to like actual TV, it'll just stay on recording mode. And then which this one's from iPad. I'm basically having this adapter. I basically can unplug and plug in. I'm thinking about getting one for another room, so I can basically plug in my iPad. This is basically for when I'm doing iPad stuff. This one, when I get a HDMI to USB-C for my phone, that's hooked to the switch that's here. I was going to make a video about this whole thing after I actually got everything set how I want it, and then that's usually hooked to this capture card right here. And that basically HDMI, because there's 2 HDMI. One goes into output, which is the monitor. The input, which would be the capture, which would be the switch, and the switch would be, so basically the output of the monitor is going into the output of the capture card. The input of the capture card is going into the output of the switch, and the input of the switch is going to 3 HDMI cables. This one, which has a HDMI to Lightning adapter, and then the next one, which will have a HDMI to USB-C for basically using with either DeX or basically using with my actual phone, well, like in like Android mode instead of DeX mode, because it's an S10. And then the other one, which is over there, which has this laptop hooked up to it, which I will basically be using as a testing station. I can basically uninstall applications because what I have right here is I can use Synergy. I was thinking about using Synergy, but Synergy I don't really want to deal with Synergy right now. But I just have a mouse and keyboard I can just have right now because I'm going to use this mouse that has an infinite scroll wheel. But so just putting the mouse right here. Forgot this this keyboard and mouse setup, which is on one unified adapter connected to this PC. And because of this because I'm gonna have that I'm gonna have this available for when I need to enter the BIOS, because I can't figure out how to, because every time I press function delete, it basically doesn't boot into the BIOS, and so I press the function button on my AnyPro, and it basically doesn't boot. It doesn't boot in the BIOS, so I have to get another keyboard to basically boot into the BIOS. But it should work, and I actually figured out why it has worked. So I could never, even with like the keyboard that actually had a dedicated button, I can actually boot into the actual BIOS. I think it's either because I'm using Bluetooth, because that's the thing. If I need to hook up, if I need to connect to like the BIOS, I can't use the Bluetooth adapter, because the Bluetooth adapter for my phone, the Bluetooth adapter for my actual for my AnyPro is basically connected. The Bluetooth for my AnyPro is actually connected to a Bluetooth adapter, which is built into, which basically the drivers only load during Windows, after Windows loads, and so that's when the AnyPro works. So I have this cable right here, which is for, this cable right here is for a lot of stuff. So this is for charging the AnyPro 2. This is also for syncing data from my phone to the computer. And so I just have that plugged in here. And so, and if I plug this into the AnyPro, I can basically, I can get it to actually work, but without it in, it doesn't work because of Windows hasn't loaded the drivers yet. But other than that, I think because this computer right here is basically just for testing stuff, and also this is just going back to here. So also I'm gonna put a screensaver onto this computer for when it's sitting here, and I'm gonna have, because I'm gonna show you what under my desk looks like, but basically no cable management. But basically you'll probably see. So because how I have it is basically I change stuff a lot. Don't feel like putting in the work for like cable management just so I can take it apart a few days later, a few months later. I don't actually really care about cable management as long as my desk is clean, and my desk is actually pretty clean, other than the stuff I have on there right now because of there are screws on the desk. Because the screws is for one screw. Let me show you. One set of screws is for there's basically there's 5-6 screws. Okay, this tiny screw right here is for the M.2, which I had to take out and send back. This screw is for the M.2 cover for this, which is also on my desk. I have 4 of these. I have this screw right here, which is for my capture card. I have 4 of these screws right here because they're for my for this little adapter right here. which I had my SSDs on, but I actually ended up having to like move them because I actually had to move the actual cables. And so then there's this, which is a cover for where my graphics adapters go. So the only thing left needing to go into the system is 32 gigs RAM that are two single sticks and two actually sticks of 16 gig kits instead of four 8 gig sticks because of one slot on the board does not work. I figured that out because it just doesn't work. But it worked with the 24, but it doesn't work with the it doesn't work with the it doesn't work with the 32, but it works with 24. And 16 works fine. 24 works fine, but 32 doesn't work fine on 4 slots. So I'm gonna put two actual RAM slots. So I'm gonna put two RAM kits. I mean one RAM kit in here that's 32 extra gigs. I have 32 extra gigs of RAM. It's red. I don't really care about the color, but I don't actually care about the actual color. I don't care about the color of the RAM. I just care about the capacity because it could be polka dot all I care. But if it works, 32 2 extra gigs is very fine. And then replacing the actual graphics card that's in there, it's basically 1650. I might replace it with a 1660 Ti or a 1660 Super. 1660 Ti is a little bit better than actually the 1660, but not better than the 1660 Super, just by a margin, by 17%. Or I might get a 2060 Super in here, RTX. I'm actually kind of debating on going for the 1660 Ti because of it's basically cheaper and I get the new NVEC encoder compared to the 1650, not the 1650 Super, which has a power adapter. The 1650 Super has a power adapter, while the 1650 doesn't. And 1650 uses an older NVEC encoder, so it's basically the same NVEC encoder quality that the 1050 Ti has, and that's the card I had in here before. But basically, I had the 1650 I got in here was in another machine that I had in the back room that was being used in my game server. But the power supply that died, the power supply in this computer died, so I had to take the power supply out of there and put it into there. And since power supplies are kind of expensive, I ended up putting the 500 watts in here. It's Silverstone SFX power supply, so there wasn't SFX in the other. It wasn't SFX in the other one, so I ended up putting it here. It gives me more power supply space, and after that, I basically didn't have a place to. I didn't have a way of playing my games that I had on my game server, so I took the SSD out of there, put it in here, and before I did that, I had a 1TB SSD in here, Crucial BX500, and then a Crucial BX500 2TB, and I ended up taking the 2TB drive from the game server, putting it into here, which was a Crucial BX500. So there's two Crucial BX500 2TB and two Crucial BX500 1TB, and then a 500 and then a 256 gigabyte SSD. And then I had a M.2 in here because as long as it's PCI Express, which it was, it doesn't disable two SATA ports. It basically only disables SATA ports if it's a SATA M.2 extra drive. And so I put the PCI Express SSD in there. It worked until it died, and then when I replaced it, I put a 500 gigabyte SSD in there because it was literally cheaper than another 2TB with Western Digital, and Western Digital kind of left a sour taste in my mouth because of the hard because SSD literally just died and they refused to warranty it. So don't want to get into that. But basically, I ended up replacing it with a Samsung 970 Evo PCI Express SSD. Put that into like there. It didn't boot. I mean, it didn't show the SSD whatsoever. So, and I tried remounting it. I tried unplugging it, but basically it just wasn't detected in the BIOS. I even activated RAID, but that didn't help. But basically, and so I contacted G-Skill, Gigabyte, and they basically said it maybe is the SSD slash the M.2 port. So I basically took all that. Basically, I took all my stuff and put it onto this computer. So, because since this computer actually never basically gets turned off normally, it's been getting turned off recently because of I have to basically put in 332 gigs RAM, a 2060 Super, or a 1660 Ti. Either one because they both have the new NVENC encoder. And then I have to put in an M.2, so I haven't been able to work with it properly, and so I might end up just not putting in the 32 gigs RAM because of the RAM's fine, 16 gigs is fine, but it would help with actually the virtual machines I run. The the 1660 Ti would help with actually encoding video, which that would help, but and then the 500 gigabyte drive would be help with actually a scratch disk that I would be replacing the 2 terabyte one with, and I ended up I really can't really because the computer is sitting on its side right now and it's kind of getting in the way of my speakers and I kind of don't like that. So, but on the other update, that this monitor has a headphone jack, and I can run a TRS or tip ring sleeve cable from over here all the way around the monitors over to here from actually this actual from the speaker. So, because I have another pair of speakers over there, and I'm just going to show you all this once I can, if I get M.2 to working. I'm not going to bother with actually upgrading to a 1660 Super, to a 1660 Ti. Because I don't really, I need it, I want it for like better performance in NVENC encoder, and I might just wait until the new GPUs come out to actually upgrade to us, because if they come out with like something that has an upgraded NVENC encoder, but that basically uses no actually power, like actual 6 pin or 8 pin power, I might just get one with 6 or 8 pin power. I really honestly just want something, because right now because it has a 2060 in there. The 2600, 16 gigs, and if I put in 32 gigs, and also right now it has 5 SSDs in there. One is not in there. It has 2 fans, well, 2 120 and 1 92 millimeter, and a 1650. If I put in a 2060 Super in there, I'll be pushing 400 watts with basically 32 gigs RAM and 32 gigs RAM and 32 gigs RAM and also 5 SSDs and 6 SSDs, 2 fans, and then a 2060 Super. All would use about 413 watts, and I have a 500 watt power supply. Yeah, it's pushing the boundaries, but that's basically just that's the recommended power supply usage. But if you are just putting in, if you're just using if you're just using that and you're not overclocking, then it would run at 369 watts after that. And so I end up using this whole computer for just editing, streaming, some gaming to my iPad, which kind of defeats the purpose. Well, it doesn't defeat the purpose of the iPad, but basically, the only reason I actually have basically this cable connected to here is if I want to record something on my iPad, like something related to Plex or whatever. If you want to see a Plex video, just let me know. This is kind of a talking head kind of thing. So, and also this cable I showed you earlier, this is for, I want to hook up a what's that thing called? Another Stream Deck, but this one is for OBS. And I'm planning on removing this mouse right here from actually here, because since I have a blue Bluetooth adapter mouse, I'm going to basically, since I want to get a Bluetooth mouse like MX Master, and hook it up to the Bluetooth adapter, and then hook it to my iPad, so I can basically have a keyboard and mouse I can take with me. And then if I ever need to get in BIOS, I can just remove this adapter from the laptop and then plug it into my actual into there. But I also might just because the keyboard can hook up 4 things, I think it's 3 or 4, but I know it can hook up 3. So 1 is hooked up to this computer, 1's hooked up to the iPad, and this laptop has Bluetooth, so I can hook it up to like there. The MX Master can have it hooked up to 3 different devices. So this, the iPad, and that, and I can just switch actually between those other 3 things. And I wouldn't need Synergy or a second keyboard and mouse, which would make this keyboard kind of moot. But basically, I might just do actually that because that needs to get updated. The SSD, I need to put an SSD in there, another SSD. I might just take an SSD out of there. I'm not for sure. Because what the SSD usually gets used for is actually for saving data to it anyway. So, because as you can see, oh yeah, I'm not gonna show you. But basically, one is, so this SSD might just usually get used because what I want to use it for is for virtual machines, but I can use a 500 gigabyte for actually that one. And I just unplug it when I need to unplug it, and then plug it back in when I need to plug it back in. That's pretty easy. Because it's a 1 terabyte. If I have to, because I don't need. Because if the hard drive just literally just craps the bucket, I don't know actually, so I'm just talking right now. So I might put another 1 terabyte hard drive in here just for a secondary drive, because hard drive just doesn't need to be fast if it's just storing like files and stuff like that. This one is I might just leave this intact I'm just gonna leave my desktop intact and just use the 1 terabyte as hard drive, and replace it with a 1 terabyte hard drive or a 2 terabyte hard drive once actually, and just put it in there, because I'm gonna get an actual optical drive slot to put in here to put the optical drive in to replace the optical drive. I'm gonna replace my CPU. I'm gonna replace my CPU thermal paste on the laptop. I might do actually that now, or I might do it later. I'm also gonna show you other stuff because that's something new over there. Just put it up to like day. Is basically being hanged. So basically, there's 5 screws, one in the corner up here, here, and here. Well, one in the center, one in the center, one in the far corner, one above the actual door frame, one in the far left right here. I mean over there, one in the middle there, and then this is being held. The other end is being held by a rubber band that's being stretched on the other side where there's no actually stud. Because I actually drilled an actual screw into the stud there, but the problem was the screw head broke and I can't get the screw out, so I'm gonna have to plaster over that. So I basically screwed the screw onto the other side where there's no actually stud, and then I wrapped the rubber band around there so it can stretch out. And so I'm just gonna show you all of this stuff once it gets set up because of the whole kind of thing is almost done. So the actual the graphics card I probably don't need, but I'm just gonna wait until something better comes out, and even if that's waiting two extra years, because this card is literally brand spanking new. It's maybe like 5 months old now, maybe less, probably 3. And so, and I was just gonna put it in, and I put it in here because of the 1050 I had in there. Is was manufactured refurbished, and I basically ended up taking that out, putting a brand new actual card in here. And the 1050 Ti, I basically replaced the thermal paste on, and I also replaced the actual fan because the fan was not working. And so I actually, because it stopped working, and I replaced the fan. It cost me like I think $5 for the fan from actually China, and I ended up replacing the actual fan. It was cheap, and it works. So and so it could last even longer once actually the thermal paste was changed. So I just replaced that with actually the 1650 because of it pretty much a newer card. Not that new, but basically it's not much better, but 16550 isn't, but 1660 Ti is. The 1660 Super is better than the 1660 Ti, just by 17%. And then the actual 2060 Super, RTX 2060 Super, is better, but it's not it's not like the price range I'm willing to like spend right now. Well, it is. It's like almost $400, which it should be less. The 2070 should be around $400. The 2070 Super should, and you can find those at $500 for a mini card. And then this one is basically this case isn't a mini case. It's basically fits micro ATX, but it doesn't fit other stuff. So I guess I'm gonna end it here because of I gotta put the 2 parts together, which is gonna be a little bit of time.